waiting to come out, and I heard those guys talking, and I said, who are they talking about? Are they just making that up? But you guys have a little more life left in you? How's it been so far?
Awesome!
It's been good so far, right? Have you been energized? Have you missed this?
Yes.
Have you missed this? I mean, is it insane that we haven't gathered together for 18 to 24 months? I mean, is that crazy or what?
Yes.
And this is the missing link right here, because, you know, I know many of you here have probably come into this business too during that time frame. You know, we'll just call it the pandemic time frame. People were isolated, people were away from each other. There's a lot of weird things going on, and there's still some weird things going on, all right? There's actually still some parts of the world people are still locked up in their houses, believe it or not, okay? But it's a new day. And so as we come through that, I think there's lessons to be learned. And as I look at what's going on, I mean, the world has changed dramatically. And I'm going to talk about a few things with you. I've got a couple of notes. I don't have any slides. I find that slides inhibit me. If I just have a couple of key words here I can glance at and then just let it roll, I think I'll deliver a better message for you. But I've noticed a lot of division being created in this country and around the world as this pandemic has rolled through, and it's created a circumstance where everyone wants to be recognized for various factions of whatever they think is a great thing. And what I want to do is this, as you guys know, we're a worldwide organization that's mixed of various cultures, races, creeds, any of that stuff, but we blend it together and we fly really under one flag. And you know what that flag is? Freedom, right? The search for freedom. And I don't care where you live in this world, if you're part of this family, okay, or where you were born, on what side of what tracks or what sex you are, if freedom's not at the top of your list, I promise you're not in this room today. And you're not part of the fabric of what this culture is. And I'll add on top of that, people of faith. Okay, now I'm not talking about your religion. I'm not talking about what you believe or what church you go to. I'm talking about faith in yourself and in something greater than you. Let's call it the greater good, because I'm here to tell you right now, this company was not built from the faithless. Okay? It was not built from those that lack vision. If that was the case, we would not exist. And those are basic principles or tenets that have to be in place for anything worthwhile to thrive and become what it should be, including the very fabric of your and my soul. If we don't possess those two things, freedom and faith in whatever you believe, then good luck, because I don't know what's going to happen to you. But if you believe in those two things, I don't care where you come from. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what sex you are. I don't care what religion you are. You and I are going to get along great. We're going to go do great things together and change the world. Because there are people looking for those two tenets, and they're lost in the minutia that's out there. They're lost. It gets smothered under the guise of things that really don't matter. If those two things reign supreme in any culture, I promise you that culture will rise to the top. All right? Regardless of what tries to divide it. Do you agree with that? It's absolutely true, including this culture. All right? And one thing about One Team Global that I will say is those two tenets is what creates this. Because we're not all from the same uplines and downlines. We come together for the greater good. We come together in faith. And I'm here to tell you, and I don't care. Before we started this, the leaders came and grounded right here, and you know what we started the thing with? Prayer. To give us the words and the strength and the capability to reach those that want to hear the message. All right? So I don't care what your belief system is. There's power in that. And it's that power that creates that which is good. And so let's talk about things, because I've got about an hour, and I'm gonna tie a lot of things in here. Some of it you may have heard before, a lot of it you haven't. You know, in our house, poor Liz, she's surrounded by men. She just is. And she either has to suck it up and get tough or whatever. Good thing is, she loves men. Okay, she does. She loves the males in the world. And we've talked about, what if we had had a girl? She says, I don't know what I'd do. I just don't know what I'd do. I'm a mother to men, to boys. And so Superman's a big deal around our house. Not that we want to be Superman. I look at what Superman teaches, and the reason it's one of my favorite things is because of the life lessons that are woven into it that have merit for us as human beings. And there's a couple of quotes that I want you to remember. You can write these down. Okay, Superman has an earthly father, and he has a father when in heaven, we'll call him, right? And his earthly father is a guy named Jonathan Kent. And here's what Jonathan said to him in a very important time in his life, when he's trying to discover who he is. And he says, decide what kind of man you want to be, good or bad. Because whatever you choose to be, that man is going to change the world. Now think about that. If you're a woman, insert woman in there. Person. Think about that. It's in your control. Now, Superman, that's his earthly father, Jonathan Kent. His heavenly father, who is that guy? Do you guys know the story? He's a guy named Jor-El. And I hope one day I can become like Jor-El. Because Jor-El is a stoic leader. That when he speaks, you pay attention, all right? And here's what he said to his son. You've grown stronger than I could have ever imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits. Wow. Now, he didn't say, be strong until a challenge comes. Be strong until you get your legs cut out from under you. Be strong until death and pestilence and everything else shows up at your doorstep. He said, test your limits. Now, you know what? I look at what's going on in the world, and I see the complete antithesis to those statements I just gave you. I see people looking for the easy way out. I see people looking for the free handout. You know, hey, I've earned a stimulus check, send it my way. And they're revamping some things now, or they're going to send more money. Well, you know what? The government doesn't have money in this country. Did you guys know that? Yeah. It comes from us. Okay? And if I want to give my money to someone, I will. But don't force it and call it something it's not. And don't empower people with weakness. Rise them up in strength. Okay? Jor-El would never say that to his son. Go look for the stimulus check. Try to find the easy way. Seek weakness. Be less than you are. See where I'm going with this? This is about principles. This is not about things that divide. Principles unite. Principles are the things that stand the test of time, and they stand the test of the storm and pestilence that will certainly come. Okay, and so if we're not prepared for that, things go through the cracks. We go the way of the world. But that's not who you are, or you wouldn't be here. See, some of you I know real well. Some of you I know real personal. Some of you I know everything about you, pretty much. Some of you I don't know and I've never met. But you know one thing I do know? We're all the same. Or you wouldn't be here. Because you were drawn here. No one forced you here. This isn't a job. You didn't fill out a resume and come here and be hired through interviews. You're here because you chose to come and partake of this culture I've been describing to you. And now that you're here in person, you can feel it in your heart. Can you not? Yeah. You certainly can. That's why we do events here in Provo, so you can tour the facilities and feel the heart. You know what one of the highlights of this whole event has been? When you saw the corporate guys stand up here on Friday night, what'd you guys think? Wow. Okay, I'm going to be straight with all you guys. We have never had a duo that conveyed a feeling like that till our founding, leadership with Blake Roney and Steve Lund were that duo that built this company in the trenches with many of us. We have never had that synergistic feeling from the heart that has been displayed until now. And I'm here to tell you, when you sense that here, knowing what I already know, I can predict the future.
Yes.
Okay, now I don't say that pompously, I'm saying it to you directly, and I mean it. I can predict the future based off of what I feel now and what the past is and what I've seen. There's a lot of prophets and seers sitting right up here that see the same vision. They know what's taking place. You will become one of those. Test your limits. Test your limits. Know who you are. Because in this world today, if you don't know who you are, it will be assigned to you. I promise. And you may not like that designation, because it will not be who you should become. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Know who you are. We're here to help aid that. And what I'm going to do is the next few minutes here, and then I'm going to come back to some of these principles. I want to talk to you guys, and we're going to do a live demonstration here about driving lines. How many of you have ever seen Nathan Ricks' video on driving lines? Best ever. Okay, I'm not Nathan, so don't expect me to be him. Okay, but I'm going to talk about some things here in the way I do, and we're going to show you what takes place, because to me, everything about this business reverts back to leadership. I know some of you guys that have come into the business maybe with a post of toothpaste or whatever. Some of you have come in when the last couple of years when maybe some of the corporate entity, they kind of felt like they knew a little more than us, and their whole emphasis was on, hey, this is just about retailing, and we're not going to talk a whole lot about recruiting. BS, okay? BS. And I'm not belittling that. What I'm telling you is this. If you want to build a long-term stable business that will pay you for the rest of your life, you need to develop leadership. You need to establish a core of foundational generals in your organization that carry the torch and the burden of the growth of that business long after your expiration date. And if you achieve that, that's called lifestyle. All right? Do we all sell product? You better believe it. That's what fuels the engine. But you know what we're about? We're about what Jor-El said to his son. Test your limits. Because you'll never know how strong you are until you do. All right? And so leadership, the thing about it, I'll see some people come in and they think, well, when do I get to speak up on stage? And when do I get to talk to a group? And when do I get recognition? And when do I? And when am I going to make money, Jeff? I mean, you seem to have done okay. When do I make money? And my answer is really simple. You will make money when you become when you become the person that's worthy of the money you seek. Because money is a byproduct of activity and principle-based action. And when we do those things, the money flows to the light. Do you believe that?
Yes.
It absolutely it does. You create energy, a fire and a light, the money will flow to that. If you decide to want the recognition, or you want to get to this spot without hitting every single rung on the ladder, you're in the wrong spot. Because you're going to have to test your limits. Okay? So that is the mindset. Now let's talk about the activity here. What are we doing here? It's real simple. We have a product. Right now, the hot product of conversation is going to be Collagen Plus. And it's a great product. We could build a whole company just on that. Just on that. Well, we got a ton of other things we can actually sell. Okay, so we're going to move product from us to an inline consumer. And sometimes that inline consumer may even be a distributor. They come into the business, they start consuming. End of the day, it's about consumption. And we're all going to be retailing product as well as we go out. And social media has brought that element in a real strong fashion, and that's awesome. But I want you to understand, social media is not the foundation of what this business is. It's a strategy to reach people and move product. Nothing more. The foundation of this business is leadership development. Okay, there's a difference there. I can see peddlers all day long just peddling a product, and they're here for maybe 3 or 4 months and then they're gone. Well, good for them. They made a little money while they were here. But they're not going to get my attention. And I might even like them as people. You know why they're going to get my attention? Because they don't understand what we do. They don't understand the feeling that's here. They don't understand what you saw these corporate guys referring to the other night. They don't understand when you see Steve Hatchett, who's self-made and a wealthy man in his own right, that stays up all night trying to deliver a product for you that he doesn't need to be here for. When you get to know Steve, you come to find out he's based off of principle and faith through his core. Money is way down on his list, and he has more than he'll ever spend. Think about that for a minute. It's way down on his list. I know this guy, all right? And money is way down here. The things I've described to you are up here. That's who we all should seek to become. But that's our partner, and here we are. The truth is, Steve's one of us. He's not a corporate guy. He's an entrepreneur businessman that understands what we do in a corporate position. That is money in the bank. All right? So, we're selling a product, and that generates volume from which we're paid on. Now, here's the thing. You can sell products all day long by yourself, and you're going to earn a profit, and that's great. But it would make sense if you have the ability to go out there and expand those salespeople in your reach, where you could train them to do the same thing. And by the way, they're probably going to consume products themselves too. And that volume will add to the bottom line for you as well, as you focus on them. And as you do that, what you're doing is you're working through this sea of people to find those that understand the leadership concept, that want more for their life. You're looking for people looking for more, looking for people looking for you, looking for people looking for freedom, and have the faith to get there. And that doesn't mean that's everybody. You're going to have people you talk to that don't see that kind of vision. They don't want that kind of vision. Maybe they're just looking for a little extra money, and that's okay. There's a home here for everyone. But you're here on your dime to hear something from someone that's been doing this over 30 years. And my obligation to you is to give you the truth. You're going to have to test your limits. You're going to have to pump up. You're going to have to grow into that leadership position, because no one's going to assign it to you. And you know how you do it? You go make stuff happen. That's how you do it. And you don't do it in a way that's controlled. Sometimes I hear people say, gosh, things are happening so fast, I just can't manage it all. I'm like, you came from the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to manage jack. You want this to gyrate so hard, you can't get to it all. And when stuff is falling through the cracks, boy, I tell you what, you're going to see some good things come your way. All right? And so really how it works is real simple. There's the posting thing. We're doing that because that's reaching other people that maybe we're not going to reach otherwise. But if you think that's the business, that's not. It's a strategy. You sit down and you write a list of everyone you know. And you know why you're going to do that? Because the timing to do that is perfect now. And I'm going to talk about it in a second. But let's talk about the strategy. So I'm making this list, and I'm going to come into the crowd here for a minute. And as I make my list, I'm looking through this list, and at the top of this list is this really hot woman, all right? And she has turned heads her whole life. She turned mine. And you know what? I'd like her to be in my downline. So I'm going to call her up, and I'm going to say, hey, Liz, I'm going to tell her, give her the spiel, whatever that spiel is, you know, whatever it is you're doing. But you know what? We've got a product here that is unique. We've got all the double blinds, nothing else like it on the market. Our product tested, it's going to reach the marketplace. We're going to create billions of dollars of sales. This is going to be the biggest growth wave we've ever had. And you and I need to sit down and talk. All right? Now she might say, could I try it? Yeah, I'll give her a pouch, but I'm not dialing in on the product at the moment. I'm talking about vision for the future. And so Liz, stand up. This is my wife, by the way. And so I give her the spiel, she sees the vision, and she says, okay, what do we need to do? I say, Liz, make a list of everybody you know, because we're gonna go talk to them about the vision of what's taking place right now before it's visible to the world. We want to be there before the whole world knows about it. You guys understand why?
Yeah.
Because you want to be part of the growth before it's the growth. You're here at the right time. And so we do that. So what does Liz do? She starts using the product, she starts to make her list, and she starts to go out there and spread the word with me as an assistant to do so. Now maybe I'll do a lot of the talking at first, and that's okay. She's learning. But I do it with her watching me do it. This is what we call driving lines. See, we work through circles of people. When I see Liz, I get a little distracted, but
Little?
I don't see just Liz, I see a doorway to a myriad of people that I don't know. Some of them we know together, but a lot of them she knows I don't know. And so if she trusts me, and she will through our interaction, as we work together, and she can feel my heart, not just my head. I'm going to tell you right now, Ryan Napierski, I've known that guy for 25 years. That's the first time I saw Ryan's heart in 25 years.
Yes.
It started to pump.
Yes. Agreed.
And why? It's not Ryan doesn't have a heart. Ryan's a very intellectual. He's one of the smartest human beings you'll ever meet, and his IQ is through the roof.
Yeah.
And so that's how he kind of expresses himself. And I've been told him, Ryan, the day that you start speaking through your heart is the day that you will become great. Because when you become great with the knowledge you have and your expression of who you are, you'll go straight to the top of where we're at. That's happening right now for him.
Yep.
It's personal growth for those guys too.
Yep.
He's in his zone now. Steve was already there.
Yep.
All right? That's where the combination comes in. So Liz and I are working together. And we're starting to work through this. And what are we looking for? We're looking for people that have vision, people that want something different out of life. And lo and behold, Liz, we're looking for these hot molecules. We're looking for people that have energy. We're looking for people that have faith and vision, want to do something. And I know she just gave me a name. It's Mark Mabry. And so,
All right, Mark.
And so, through Liz, let's say I didn't know Mark, which I actually do know Mark anyway, but let's say I didn't know Mark. I'm not married to you. But
And that's not why I did the deal. I did it because I wanted to be in your downline. Under you.
you're ruining my spiel. Just say it real quick, all right? For now. So Mark surfaces. Where Mark is yet. I do, but I don't. Okay. As we get talking about this, we're looking for someone that's at 12 o'clock. In other words, where they're at in their life, they want to change. They want something different. And so as we work, we hit him with the spiel, and all of a sudden Mark says, hey, you know what? This looks pretty good. I think I want to do it. Bam. We sign him up. We're 2 levels deep under Liz, right? First level, second level to me, right? Now, while we're doing this whole thing, the goal here is to file letters of intent. Now, why do you do that? Well, because when you file letters of intent, and those of us that have done it in this room, you know, it goes from just being a story or a spiel or an idea to a hands-on deal. Because now there's volumes to meet, right? We've got some marching orders we have to employ. And so we got to arrange our lives to do that. So we're doing that now. All of a sudden, instead of these guys just watching TV and doing what they do, they're giving time to the business. And I say the same thing to Mark. Mark,
Do I get a picture first?
you can, well, no, I've got some in mind right here. Yeah, but you can help me pick some more if you'd like. Would you like to do that with me?
Give the guys the microphone. You do it.
Okay. If you feel strongly about it, you can give me, I'll do anything for you. You know that, right? Okay, so here we go. And Mark says, you know what? We need to call Terry. And so, boom, we come down here. I don't know Terry for the sake of this. I know Terry really well in person, though, right? But we're 3 levels deep here, and it's, hey, Terry, we give her the spiel, and all of a sudden in Terry, I see the burn in her eyes. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is a true story. First time I met Terry, Alan the gal brought her to me because he wanted to introduce, you know, he's the one who actually went out and prospected and found her. He says, you need to meet this lady. And I said, yeah, bring her. He brought her. I looked at her. The second I looked in her eyes, I knew what we had. Because I saw fire. Okay? I saw fire. I didn't know anything about her life. I didn't know anything about Terry except the fire in her eyes. I thought, that chick's going to light it up, man. And sure enough, there we go. Okay, so we give Terry the spiel, and Terry says, hey, you know what? I've been looking for this all my life. I've been praying for this. I am ready to do this, and I am going to tear this thing up. And all of a sudden, Terry says, hey, I know some guys. Stand up, all you guys. Who's for? Okay? And so Terry introduces me to this group here. Okay, and I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go into a whole bunch of detail, but I can tell you, these guys are freaking animals, all right? They are animals, and if you know me, if I call you an animal, I'm bowing down to you. You are the highest in my eyes of anything. They're animals, all right? And as you come to find out that where they come from, and what they've gone through, and where they're at in their life, and what they want for the future, you hook your wagon to these guys right here. Let's have this whole row stand up now, because these guys turn me on to this whole front row. They say, Jeff, we see it, we've got the vision, let's roll. And we're doing this, okay? We're on phone calls, we're meeting in person, we're doing Zoom, we're hitting the story. And the whole time I'm talking was them watching me through these guys to these guys. They're hearing the story, the spiel, the comebacks, everything that I've got in my repertoire to help prospect and get these guys in with their help. And then before I'm doing this, all of a sudden Liz starts chiming in, Mark starts chiming in, saying, oh yeah, hey, look, hey, I'm excited. You know, my daughter started to use this product. They are freaking excited about it. It's going to be huge. And all of a sudden, there's multiple voices now validating. And Terry at this point says, hey, guys, this is the answer to what we've been looking for. We're ready to rip this thing. And these guys then start chiming into this group who comes from their circle with me as a mouthpiece helping edge it forward. And as we do that, these guys catch the vision. And let's have the rest of the room stand. Okay? Because through these guys, we capture the whole world. You know, I want you to think about this for just a second. I want you to think about this. I remember distinctly one Team Elite University years ago, and we had probably, 1,500 people at it. And we threw out from stage, hey, the way that word of mouth spreads and how we can reach the world would scare you to death. We want to find out who in this room knows Boris Yeltsin. You guys know who Boris Yeltsin was? Yep. He was a Russian leader, all right? Government guy. And as we put that out from stage, and I'm not kidding you, within a matter of minutes, someone came up and says, hey, my good friend is Boris Yeltsin's buddy. And I'm like, holy smokes. Boris Yeltsin. So if my goal was to go get Boris Yeltsin, I got the guy right here in the room. What I want you guys to understand is this concept of driving lines as we work through these people to others. They're doorways to a bunch of people. So when you see people with a story like ours, I mean, think about this for just a second. You can all sit down there. Do you get the concept of this? Okay, you hear about power lines. Okay, you hear about driving a leg. You hear about these power legs. And as you come to analyze the income potential and what this compensation plan can do, and you see what Team Elites and Blue Diamonds have done with the business, there's always 1, 2, or 3 of these power lines that really hold most of the volume. And as you look at how the comp plan works, there's some requirements you have to actually earn pin titles. They want to see some multiple lines if you can do it. And so, with that being said, we can reach the world through one. But you work through whoever you're talking to, and you'll find that one. And it's not that you can make them be that one. Like Liz and Mark, and then we find Terry. Liz and Mark, here's what happens. See, let's say that these guys, we kind of know each other, and I didn't know Terry too well. And Liz and Mark, maybe they're doing it because they like me. Liz just said she was doing it because she wants to get together with me, okay? If that's true, she might not pan out, okay? If that's her motivation, you know, after she's around me long enough, she might say, oh, he's not what I thought he was anyway. But no, my point is, people have different motivations. If their motivations are anything other than freedom, and faith to do so, they may not go on to become who they could be in this business. But Terry is, right? Because of where she's been. See, you don't find potential team elites or blue diamonds. Or excuse me, you don't create them. You find them. Remember that. You can't make anyone become one. I promise you, you can't. You don't believe me? Go try. You can't make them. You find them. Because they've got a burn inside that never leaves. They've got a pit in their stomach that churns 24/7. I know, because I'm one of those guys. And when negativity happens, it's another log on the fire. It's not a detriment, it's an empowering tool. Because they see the world differently. Now you can grow into one. You hang around them long enough, you'll figure it out. But boom, and so there you go. And we work through that, and we find a leader. Now what happens is, the beauty of that, in this example, Terry came to us at a 3rd level. But let's say she was on a 6th level, and I've had this happen. How many of you guys know a guy named Brent Bryson?
Yes. Woo!
He's not here because the guy's addicted to golf, okay? Seriously, and he golfs with the who's who. You name it. He sends me a text one day, and this is no joke. He sends me a text, and there's a bag of money and little laughy faces underneath it. You know who he took that money from? Michael Jordan.
Oh.
He golfs with these guys, right? That's what Brent's passion is. And so go have at it. I kid him a little bit. I said, you know, you're a closet glue sniffer, man. I mean, you're over there, you're addicted to sniffing glue. You just don't let me know about it. I know you got addicted to golf, okay? Go ahead and golf. Because he doesn't want to say, hey, I'm addicted to golf. Jeff, you're my upline. I know you want me to keep working. And whatever. I'm like, Brent, you've paid a price. Go do what you need to do. You'll come back when you want to be back here. The point is, Brent was not someone I knew when I started the business. I didn't know Brent, and we're the closest of friends. We're like brothers now, all right? Our families are intertwined. When there's a disaster there, Liz and I are there. We're there with their children because they mean that much to us, not as a business person, but as a friend and family, all right? But I didn't know him when it started. And I knew some college buddies that I played baseball with, and it led me to Brent. And as I saw Brent, I saw a guy that I started trying in my mind, because I started figuring this thing out. I had good mentors in Craig Tillotson and Craig Bryson and Clara McDermott. Those guys are my mentors. They're the ones that brought me into the business. And Craig told me early on, Jeff, if you can't work with someone, you work through them. If you can't work with them, you work through them to find someone that sees it better than they do. Don't waste your time with people that want to steal it. And so that's what I did. And boy, there's Brent. And Brent owns 9 Subways, 2 convenience stores, 30 rental properties, and his life is hell. He's got 4 children under the age of 6. And he's got an ecclesiastical calling in his church. That guy's busy and he's stressed out. And you know what? As you drill down further with Brent, you come to find out the cash flow isn't enough. And so he's thinking of opening more Subways to get subsequent cash flow, which requires more cash and more brain damage. And when he saw this, he says, that has what I'm looking for. The end result, I didn't think it would be a new skin thing with skincare, okay? But that has what I'm looking for. And I distinctly remember, because we talk about powering through the storm, I distinctly remember this moment, and if you haven't had these yourself or with your people, you will. As you're driving that line, and I see Brent, and I'm like, okay, I went down 6 levels to Brent and started working, and the thing starts to grow, and the 5 guys between me and him, I didn't beat up on him, just said, hey, this Bryson guy has a real need. He has a real motivation. He wants out of that life he's in, and he's an animal. And he's gonna do this whether you guys do it or not, so my suggestion is you guys pump up and get busy. And if you need my help, I'll help you. But you know what? If you're not calling me, I'm not calling you. I'm not going to beg you. I'm not going to drag you. And I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to go work with him. And as we build an army, you can participate, but you better get busy and go out and find some more people. That's called posture. You guys understand the difference?
Yep.
Posture means you have the power. You have the strength. You don't beg people to do anything, not to sign up, not to do the business, not to go the extra mile, not to burn the midnight oil. You find those people. And I knew with Brent, if we could get him to a certain point, he would be all he needed to be. And Brent grew in the process. I've watched him. Brent grew as a person, and he became viable. And he was a level 4 guy 2 or 3 years ago. And I just got word just recently that John and Noon right under him just became level 4 just now. Okay, and they covered that ground from, 10 to 20, I'll call it. I keep trying to think what the numbers are. They went from 10 to 20 like that. So the future is going to just be gigantic. They're under Brent on his business builder.
Whoa. Whoa.
So you say, how did that happen? Well, I knew a college buddy who was a friend I grew up with, and I had a guy that I was a roommate with in college, his All-American baseball player. We sponsored him under my friend because we kind of both knew him. Led us to another guy, led us to another guy, led us to Brent. And all these guys are like, and one of the wives like, hey, you don't want to do that, dude. You want to do that? Jeff, he's not doing that well yet anyway. Oh, I don't do that. Bam. Brent goes on to do what Brent does. There was a lot of sacrifice along the way. I remember moments, okay? This is one of them. I get this call, so I get Brent to go public, right? Brent's thinking he's the big stud already. 9 subways, I got 2 convenience stores, 30 rental properties. I'm the big stud. I remember when I first met him, Tim introduced me to him, and he looks at me. He had his boat, and he's like, oh yeah? He turns and walks away like that. And I'm thinking, if you don't turn around, I'm gonna punch you back in the back of the head. Don't turn your back on me, you idiot. This is what I'm thinking in my brain, right? This is a challenge. I mean, you're out in the wild. You don't stare a lion in the eyes. You don't turn your back on someone who's trying to talk to you either. But that's what he did. It was a pecking order thing with him. It's like, yeah, walks away. We get talking. Long story short, he didn't want me to see the real Brent at that moment. Outside, it looked like he had the world by the tail, but he didn't. He wanted more. His ego wouldn't let it happen. So we get going. He goes public. And remember, he calls. I said, Brent, this thing is huge. It's going to become a life changer for many. And we need to talk to all the business people you know. And I'm telling you the same right now. Anyone you know that's a business person, man, you write their name down and you go after them right now. Because if you don't, I promise you, someone else will. Collagen Plus story is that strong. At this moment in time, whoa. And so here we are. And so he says, okay, there's this guy. Let me go do this one alone. So he's thinking, this guy's a big fish. I'm going to handle this. I'm like, fine. You call me if you need help. So I'm there. I get this call from Brent. And hey, what's up, man? And he's like, this isn't for me. I'm like, say that again. And he says, this business isn't for me. I'm going to quit. And I said, wait, back up. What are you talking about? He says, yeah, you know what? With the guys I know, I can work out my deal over here. My friend, his name was Jordan. I said, hey, Jordan. Jordan says to him, you know what? Brent, I used to have respect for you. Is your life this bad? You're going to go do some stupid little pyramid scheme? Is that where you're at? Well, Brent tucked his tail because he was intimidated by Jordan and decided he was going to quit. And so I get this call and Brent says, I'm going to quit. And I'm thinking, knowing what I know, because Craig trained me well, I can't be weak here with him. If I'm weak with him, he owns me. And if he owns me, we're both dead. And so I said to him, hey, that's fine. I wondered about you anyway. I said, seriously, I wondered about you because you have a bit of an ego. And sometimes you're your own worst enemy. I says, but I have a question for you. Is Jordan gonna pay your bills? is Jordan going to take care of the lawsuit on the convenience stores with the gas tanks that leaked into the ground where they're coming after that? Is he going to take care of that for you? Is Jordan going to pay the bills for your children to go to college? Is he going to fund your future? And he just sat there listening. I said, I didn't think so. You go ahead and quit. That was it.
Wow.
So now, and I could tell you guys story after story like this. I'm not kidding. I could go on for hours. With not just Brent, lots of guys. Eileen Williams, that's another good one. I'll tell you sometime. But, so here's that thing. And so I'm thinking, okay, did I just put the dagger in him? Is he just now bleeding out? You know, it's just in his heart. And he's like, God, I didn't expect that. Jordan kicks my butt, and then Jeff takes the dagger and jabs it right in my chest. All of a sudden, I get a call back a few hours later, and it's Brent. And he says, okay, look, I'm back in. And I says, okay, what'd you learn from that? Doesn't matter what Jordan thinks. Okay, let's go do this thing. The end result, he's got some of the best leaders in this company, bar none, and I'm not kidding you, underneath him. John and Noon are two of the most powerful souls on this planet. And I remember, as you flash back, and these are stories you can only tell by living them. Remember, I went to Thailand to support that group, and John went to, there's a meeting, there's 5,000 people in this room. It's a corporate event. Just so happens 90% of it is under John and Noon. Okay, and we're in this room, and John takes the stage. And I'm sitting like over where Liz is in that room, and John starts to go. And this is in Thai, all right? I don't speak Thai. But he starts to talk about tenets I'm talking to you about freedom and sacrifice, and about doing what's necessary to get to that point and growing as people, and going through pain if necessary, and walking through the very jaws of hell. These are the things that he's talking about in Thai. And I don't understand what the words are, but he was communicating through the heart, much like you saw here with the corporate guys the other day. So I'm sitting over there before I know it, and this is no joke. All 5,000 people are crying like babies. And so I start crying too. And I'm thinking, God, I don't know what he said, man, but I feel like I need to cry. He was that powerful. Now there's other stories along the way. I remember the time those guys were on their heels, almost ready to quit, John and Noon. And the Southeast Asia bubble burst. Financially, it was like a disaster. Newskin almost pulled out of the market. They're sitting there and they're quivering. And their upline told them they were going to destroy them if they didn't come to the new company with them. And I knew it's a moment of truth. I could put my arm around them and cry with them, or I could pull out the dagger and stick it in their chest. And I said, you know what? I don't live here. I probably never live here. I'm not a leader here. You should be. But if anyone ever talked to me like that, first of all, they wouldn't. But if they did, and I followed them, you deserve everything you get. Or you can decide right now, because someone's going to own this market. It might as well be you. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. And I left. Fast forward, they're level 4 as of just this last month. And they are powerful. That day I saw John, I didn't recognize who he was. He was just a little 23-year-old kid that time. I put the dagger in his chest. And I looked him on stage and I says, boy, there's someone right there. He could do anything in this world. That's what happens. And it's called driving lines. So you say, okay, how does that work? Well, you focus on the people with dreams. You focus on the people that want more. It's not about credentials. Brent had the subways and the stores and all the stuff, but that didn't matter. It was what's in his heart at that moment. If he would have gone the other direction, he probably would have sunk with that ship, and I don't know where it'd be. Okay? Knowing him, he'd probably fight back in some fashion, be somewhere. But the point I'm making to you guys is, here's where we sit. You get the concept with the driving lines? You understand it?
Yes.
You're working through people to find people better than them. That's what you're doing. And I don't care what level they are. I don't care if they're out of your pay line on your 10th level. You drive down and create that volume, and it'll put pressure on everyone up above them. Because here's the moral of that story. These 5 people between me and Brent were friends of mine. I hoped that they could do this with us because I wanted to be around them for the next 50, 60, 70 years. But they all quit. And Brent rolled up and is now a first level team elite and level 4 guy, going on to be probably level 20 or 50 or whatever other level they're going to make down the road for guys to just blow it clear out of the water. My friend that I grew up with, every now and then we'll talk. And I try not to bring this stuff up. But he'll say something like, hey, how's Brent? I don't know, man, I just got this text. Looks like he took like $20,000 from Michael Jordan, though. So I think he's doing okay. Wait, what? Yeah, he golfs all the time now. His business is doing so good, he's just out golfing. And I don't have it in my heart to put a dagger in him. He's been through enough of that loss. But my point is simply this, you guys. You're looking for people. Circles. There's people are doorways to others. And we could, right now, I guarantee if I put it out there, we'd find Boris. He's not around anymore. But we'd probably, you name a name, and we'd go find him. We'd go find him. Nancy Pelosi. Let's go find her right now. I guarantee we'd find her. And I'm just jabbing there. I love Nancy. But anyway, I do. But here's what we're doing. She's leader. Okay, here's what we do. You guys get the concept. You're working through people to find people. Now this is where you got to disconnect the emotion. Okay, you really do. And the things that you think everyone should rally around that you hold dear, they may not hold dear. So in other words, you can't use your whole take on life as the blueprint for theirs. A tendency I had early on was to tell people about how they should set their goals, because I saw a giant vision. But they didn't see it at the moment. And that's okay. You're just working through them to find someone that does. Does that make sense? You're working through them to find someone that does. And again, you find them, you don't make them. And so boom, they're ready to roll. And just like the demonstration, you'll see, bam, it'll take off. Okay, and you're there to help fill in those gaps. Does that make sense? Okay, so along the way, let's talk about some of these principal things, as I have about 10 minutes left. You and I have an obligation, okay? And that obligation, there's little taglines I've developed, and I'll do posts on them. You've heard me, if you follow me on social media, I talk about the heap of humanity. You know what the heap of humanity is? It's a pile of empty, lifeless bodies that have lost their vision. At one point they had vision, or maybe they didn't have complete vision, but they've given up and they're there. And they're the ones that say, hey, when's my stimulus check coming? Hey, the socialism thing sounds pretty good. Maybe we should do that deal. Hey, you know what? I've had some hard knocks here and it's been not fair. And that's why I'm in this boat. Hey, you know what? They make excuses for their life. And so they're on the heap. And this heap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know what COVID has done? I'm going to talk to you direct about this. Okay, so bear in mind, before I start with this, I apologize first. Because I realize there's various takes on what COVID means. And I know some of us have lost people. I almost lost my mom during this process. So I get that part of it. But get that out for a minute, because that doesn't matter. What matters is what it's done. And I call it the great disruptor. Because what it's done is there were a lot of people 2 years ago that would not look at us. They wouldn't look at us because life was good. Status quo was in place. Things were churning. And then COVID bomb goes off and it ripples through the entire globe, has it not? And people have internalized it in different ways. Some real extreme, some not so extreme. Some states in this country, not so much. Others intense. Around the world, some countries in lockdown. Whatever. The point is, everyone's been touched by it. And if you lost a loved one or had a challenge during that time, my heart goes out to you because I understand. We've had loss in our family too. It just exacerbated the problem even worse, even though that was going to happen anyway with the loss of family members. Okay, but that circumstance created a disruption situation economically that has destroyed the lives of many people, that has dashed their dreams, that has created uncertainty to where they don't know what tomorrow will bring. And as sure as we're sitting here, I want you to understand the variant's coming too. Here's what happens is people use different mechanisms out there and they have an agenda that they want to promote behind it. You may not see it outwardly, but they'll use that pain to insert something. Okay? And they're doing it with COVID. I'm just going to be honest with you, they are. Can you get sick? Yeah. Oh yeah, you can. But you can get sick with other things anyway. That's my take on it. I'm not going to live life in fear because that's not living. I'm not. Okay? I'm going to live life full throttle, out on the edge. Out on the edge. So if I don't respond like you think, I am sorry. But I'm here and you're not. All right? You need to test your limits. And that means if you have fear, get it out of your head. Because fear will rob you. It will rob you. It will steal your spirit. It'll steal your soul. Live valiantly with courage and faith and move forward. Expect the best. And if the worst happens, you deal with it. But the whole world was affected. And so now what's happened is people are looking for reprieve, looking for another angle. Well, some people think, okay, government, take care of me. Yeah, hey, that stimulus check sounds pretty good. Could you up that a little more so then I can just kind of stay home a little longer? And then there's others that say, okay, that door's shut. Where's the other door? Okay, these are animals. These are animals. Guys, get this? Animals exist out there right now, just like these animals existed at their time. The animals are everywhere. The biggest animal is the compensation plan because it does not care. It's a computation that says you create volume, plug energy and people in here, and out comes the check here. And it doesn't care if you're a man, a woman, black, white, yellow, or red. You're cashing those checks because the computation said you deserve it. And I'm here to tell you, there's people out there, the second they hear this story, they're the ones that you're looking for, and they're going to jump on this, not because you're that good at telling the story, but because they're looking for that lifeline. Because COVID has decimated their future in their head. Now, how do I know this? When I started this company 30 years ago, we were coming off the heels of the greatest recession we'd had. And it was brutal. I mean, people were hurting. And because of that, we came in and started telling a story of hope and faith and a future of promise. And that foundation of this company exploded. Okay? That's what built it. And you might say, well, what about products? Products were there. These guys are committed to excellence. I can guarantee you, Steve Hatchett, he'll develop, he and Joe Chang will develop the best products on the planet. But I can also tell you, I can sit down and talk with Steve, and he can tell you what's important. And what's important is leadership. See, that is what makes this tick. And as sure as we're sitting here, there's people I don't know in this room that are going to go on to crush this. You're going to be the next tier of animals and leaders that lead this charge of the future to 10 billion and beyond. And there's same people in this room hearing the very same message I'm hearing you, and they're going to say something like, God, screw that guy. He talked about COVID as something that's good for us. Screw that guy. He was insensitive. I didn't like that. My wife got sick, and he talked about it being a positive for the business. Screw that guy. I didn't like his message. Oh, you don't? What do you like? Here's the deal. You know the definition of a self-actualized person? Is someone that can put their own issues aside and stare truth in the face. Okay? So if you have an issue, although I'm sensitive to it, that's not my problem, that's yours. You need to figure it out. And how can I say that? Because I had my own when I got here. I showed up with plenty of brain damage that I had to unwind and say, you know what? If I want this, I got to grow as a person. I remember Craig Tillotson, this is no joke. When he forced Nathan and I to do the meeting after we'd been in the business a week, I didn't want to do it, you know? And I remember I did it, and then I did the next one. I remember I'm doing a meeting, and a Japanese guy sitting right here on the front row, okay? He's looking at me, and I'm doing the meeting, and he's looking above his glasses at me like this, right? I'm doing the meeting, and halfway through I notice he is sawing logs. I mean, he's asleep. And I don't know if you've been in front of a group, there's probably 50 people I'm talking, and I just couldn't take my eyes off him. I just kept looking down like, there might have been a few people that thought I was doing something good, but kept looking at the one that didn't. I'm like, the guy's asleep. I suck. I'm horrible at this. I told him I sucked at this. I told him I'm not really good at this. And so you think, okay, what would Craig do? Come and say, hey, good job, Jeff. Good effort. You know? You'll do better next time, little Johnny. You know? Like a mother will do to a kid that can't even hit a baseball. Like, oh, good job, Johnny. Why don't you just put a dagger in that kid's heart right now? He's done. He's not gonna play baseball again. You're supporting a weakness. So Craig pulls me aside, takes me in the corner, he says, hey, I see you gave it a good effort. This is totally how he was. He did a good effort. He says, but I owe this to you, and I'm gonna tell you like it is. You're a laid-back guy. You're kind of shy. He says, I get that. But if you don't get some emotion in the things you're talking about and sell something with energy, no one will ever buy anything from you again. Got it? I'm thinking, holy crap. Dagger in the chest, blood spurting out, you know. I'm like, what he's basically telling me is, I see something in you. Get over yourself and do this. Well, you know what? I'm giving you the same tough love. If you feel like you got a dagger in your chest, you're in the right crowd. Okay? Because we all take it. All right? I've talked about Nathan Ricks before. The great Nathan Ricks. The legend, the Nathan Ricks. Nathan Ricks. Nathan Ricks. I can never be like Nathan Ricks. He's just so good. That meeting I talked about before the Japanese guy that fell asleep. We're doing the meeting. Craig says, you guys are doing it. We don't want to do it. You're doing it. Okay. I sit in the back. Nate's going first. Nate stands up and he starts talking. He's got his suit cut on. He's talking. And I notice he's like, I've known Nathan a little while. He's kind of like, all of a sudden beads of sweat, and all of a sudden these beads of sweat start jumping off his head. I mean, they're jumping off like a big dog, right? And they just boom. And I'm thinking, are we being punked? Is this some kind of joke? I mean, where's the hidden camera? What is this? And it's jumping so profusely, he starts to take off his jacket, and by the end of the presentation, his shirt was so wet, and this is no joke, you could see his nipples through his shirt. Now, I'm sharing with you, and Nathan would be laughing right now, by the way. I'm sharing my thoughts. At that moment, I said, this guy's not cut out for this. I don't think Nathan's going to be around, you know. But you didn't know Nathan like I do. 3x5 card. He writes down, I will not sweat in front of people. Puts it in his shirt, and every presentation, therefore, would take it out and read it. We went on the road for a month one time. Every presentation, read it, put it back. Nathan gets anxiety when he speaks in front of people. But you'd never know it, because he grew past it. Now, there's still some times I'll see Nathan, he'll get a little bit of sweat. My point is this: do what's uncomfortable and move past it. If someone has to put a dagger in your chest, that's okay. Because like Jor-El said to his son, the only way you can know how strong you are is to test your limits. Thanks.